There are many claims there is nothing good about the EU, but that's what I want to talk about in this video. I'm Mark, greetings from Germany, welcome to my channel and welcome to another Brexit video. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe, click the little bell and the notifications so you won't miss my new Brexit videos in the future. For the last 70 years, the EU in its different forms had a lot of influence on our lives. I made a ranking list with advantages of the EU that we have today, and those are the 10 best from my point of view. And of course I do read the comments on my videos, and I do know some of my viewers are not very keen of this topic. So before you get jump started with writing comments that the EU is so bad and so on, and I'm just making a video about how good everything is, just wait a bit. The next video next week will be the top 10 drawbacks of the EU. So really the worst parts of the EU. So let's start with 10th place. That's streaming and roaming. Nowadays, if I go to holidays in another EU country or spend a few months in another EU country, I can stream my Netflix and Amazon Prime and whatever the same way as if I'm at home. Everybody might think, oh, that's normal. No, it wasn't. It was with a country code, so to speak, and you couldn't do that without additional payments. And the other part was roaming. In the past, when you traveled through the EU, you always had to pay roaming fees when you used your mobile phone. Today, you can go to every other EU country and pay exactly the same as you would at home. And even the prices for calling another European country is much cheaper now because the EU set limits to the prices. Then let's go to the 9th place. That's the cooperation across borders within the EU. I live in a region that is quite close to the Netherlands borders, and my hometown of Münster and the city of Enschede, or as the Dutch viewers probably would say Enschede, they are cooperating in many ways. And a fun fact, even our mayors, the mayor of Enschede and the mayor of Münster, swapped seats for a day before to get a much closer look on each other's work, and our regions are cooperating with each other. This close cooperation wouldn't be there without the freedom of movement and stuff like this we had before to make this happen. 8th place, food hygiene and product standards. The standards for food hygiene and product standards are the same all over the EU. So when I travel or live in another EU country, I do exactly know that I'm safe there. Or if I order something from another EU country, which many people do nowadays, ordering from home, I know that it has to meet the standards that I'm used to at home because the standards are EU-wide the same. And of course, regarding the standards for services, if you book a flight or something, you have a lot of customer protection there because of EU law. 7th place. It's the thing with a single market and no tariffs. Of course, you might say you can have that with a free trade agreement, no tariffs at all, but we have no tariffs on goods within the EU, and that's a really good thing because I can buy stuff from other EU countries much cheaper than I could if the EU wasn't there. Perhaps, depending on the tariffs that would be there, 20, 30, 40, 50%, they would be so expensive I couldn't afford them. But now it is quite easy because whatever that thing costs in France, it costs in Germany, with a little plus on it because of the transport. That also goes for my favorite Cadbury chocolate. Of course, it's a little bit more expensive in Germany than in the UK because they have to transport it here. But if there were tariffs on it, it would be much more expensive, and then I wouldn't buy that anymore. But now I can buy it here because that goes back to the standards. It's easy to bring them here because the standards in the UK are the same as in Germany, and the prices are not as high as it would be with tariffs under WTO terms. Then let's have a look at the 6th place. That's ecology standards. We have, through the EU-wide ecology standards that set the minimum for what we have to have. And nowadays it gets more and more important, as you all will definitely be aware of. And I am quite sure without the EU leaving every country to choose what standards to have there, we would be much worse off than we are today, because the EU set a minimum level. Of course we have to go over that minimum level, but in many countries, and I'm including mine, we have a lot of development there, but still a long way to go. And I'm not sure if we were exactly there where we are already without the EU. Then let's see what fifth place is. On my personal fifth place, there's the voting for our European Parliament. And to have MEPs. Until the 70s that wasn't possible. Only till 1976 you couldn't vote for your MEP. Since 1976 we can do that, and so we can directly approach them. And I often hear in comments and so on, you can't reach your MEPs, you have no contact, they don't care about their constituency. My MEP sits next door on the same floor of the offices of my MP and my MSP, my Member of State Parliament. They all have the offices on the same floor, and I can all easily reach them, and everybody can. And the other fact is, of course, they're also on Facebook and stuff like that, and I could reach them on Facebook, and they do answer. I have, of course, their staff answer some of the stuff, but it's not difficult to reach them. They are not out of the way. You can contact their offices. I easily did that. If you know more of my videos, you know that my Member of State Parliament and my Member of the European Parliament already appeared in some of my videos, and I just approached them via their offices. So that's easy, and that's the same you can do with your MEP. Number 4 is freedom of workers movement. Not to mix up with freedom of movement, but the freedom of movement of workers is a great achievement of the EU. I know that many of the Brexiteers have problems with that because they say that too many immigrants come in, taking our jobs, raising the prices for our houses and so on. I know. But for every single EU citizen to have the opportunity to just do this in a very uncomplicated way, that is a big achievement. When I decided that time to go and work in the UK for some time, I just could fly over, look for a job, then fly over again, look for a flat, and then just move there and work there. And the same thing goes for the members of the other EU countries. Of course, we have sometimes limits for new members. They sometimes get a transition period before that is allowed, but that is a big achievement. And for Germany, I must say, we do need qualified workers from other countries. We don't have enough in our own. And so for Germany, that's a really good thing. And of course, I know people are abusing that and there are downsides, but I think the advantages are higher than the disadvantages. Then let's go to third place. And that's something I was really annoyed of most of the time when I was younger and I was traveling a lot through Europe. That is no currency exchange anymore in the most EU countries. When I was young and traveled through Europe, I had to exchange money in France into francs, in Italy into lira, and so on and so on and so on. And that cost a lot of money because you have to pay fees for the exchange, the rates are mostly bad and so on. And in most European countries in the EU, we have the euro now. And except the UK, if they would have stayed, because they got that opt-out, and Denmark, every new EU member is supposed to have the euro in the end as soon as they meet the criteria. So at some point in the future, I won't have to exchange currency wherever I go in the EU except Denmark. And then let's come to the second place. That, of course, is freedom of movement. To have no borders within the EU, and you can freely move from one EU country to another, just knowing that you're leaving one country for another by a blue sign that says the country. That's something we dreamt of when I was young. I'm old enough to have experienced the time before the Berlin Wall came down, and that time was quite different. Now, even in Eastern Europe, with all the EU member states there, we can just travel there. I wouldn't have, when I was 14, I wouldn't have dreamt to travel just to Prague quickly, and not to be stuck at the border with custom checks and passport checks and stuff like this. Most of the Germans don't even have a passport, they just have their national ID, because that's enough to travel within the EU. Only if you travel with outside the EU, German citizens need a passport. And many probably know what's our preferred travel destination for the summer holidays or something like that. That's within the EU. So that's very easy for us. And that is a big advantage. And that also goes, of course, for students who want to study in another EU country and so on. It is easy and it's a great thing. And there's first place, of course. And that is peace and human rights, definitely. For 70 years, NATO, of course, kept us safe from the outside. But the peace within the EU was kept by the EU. I'm absolutely sure about this. If you think about in the centuries before, how many times alone Germany and France were at war, over and over and over again. We never had a 70-year period of peace. And some say, yeah, that's just the point of trade. Do you know who was the biggest trade partner of Germany before and right up to the First World War? It was France. So trade alone doesn't prevent wars. Trade alone doesn't keep the peace. You need more than that. And the EU just did that. And of course we have human rights standards all over the EU that are the same on a minimum level. Of course, some countries go higher than others. We heard the discussions about jurisdiction and stuff like that in some countries. I don't want to go into details there and make them angry, but right now in this video, I'll do another. But we have a very high level of human rights standards in the EU as well. But the peacekeeping part, even if many deny that in my comments and in comments on other videos, I know that it is the most important part of the EU, and that's the greatest benefit of the EU. And especially we in Germany that know our history, know very well what happened in the time before. And that's exactly why I think the EU should be reformed and not scrapped. But I do know that many people are not very interested in the EU and its structures. But if you want to, as we say in German, jump over your shadow and do want to try to get a little bit more grasp of that, I put my EU Explained playlist up here in the end screen. Click on it, have a look at these structures that you might not know as much about as you should be, maybe want to. Just give it a try. I'll see you there. Viel Spaß.